Hey, welcome back to the Brew channel. I'm Mike.
And I'm Joey.
And today we're going to be taking you through a clone of the Fat Tire recipe. So sit back and relax and we'll show you how it's done.
All right, so on today's episode, we're going to need a few things. We're going to need 7 pounds of the Pale Ale 2-row malts, 13 ounces of the Munich malts, 5 ounces of cookie malts, 6 ounces of caramel malts. These are the 120L, Irish moss, SafAle 33 yeast, Nugget pellet hops, East Kent Golding pellet hops, Fuggle pellet hops, and yeast nutrients. All right, so we're going to need a few things. We're going to need a mixing spoon, wort chiller, measuring container, a spray bottle for easy sanitation, a hydrometer, thermometer.
Then we have our stock pot. This will be for our Sparge water. We have our strainer. We have our fermenter. We have our airlock. And then this guy right here, that is for our cooling system. And also alongside our hydrometer, we have this brand new refractometer that we want to use. So we're going to use both and just see if the numbers match. And then finally, here is the sanitizer solution we'll be using. And here is the cleaner that we'll be using once we're all done. Okay, so today we'll be using our Anvil Foundry. We're going to get our strike temperature up to 157. All right, so for the Anvil today, our strike temperature, we got it up to 157. The power was at 100%, so that took an hour to get there for 5.5 gallons of water. So next what we're going to do, we're going to start our mashing. Joey and I went ahead and mixed up the grains, and now we're going to slowly start pouring it in. And the reason we're doing this slowly is we don't want to get a bunch of clumps in there. And that would then cause some issues when we're doing the recirculation. So as we were doing the mashing, we made sure to turn the power off because we want our mash temperature to be at 154. So now what we're going to do, now that we're all mashed in, we're going to put the power back on to 50%. And then we're going to turn this down to our mash temperature at 154. And then we're just going to let this steep for about 10 minutes. It's really going to loosen up those grains and it's going to make our recirculation a lot easier.
Okay, we're going to start the circulation process, and this is going to go for 45 minutes for this specific batch. We're going to start off with a quick stir, and then we're going to open up the valve here. Put our lid here. And then we're going to attach this here. And then we're going to turn on the pump. And we want to make sure that it is at a slow medium pour and it's not going to overflow. Probably needs to be a little bit tighter. And we want the power between 50 to 80%. We don't. The reason why is because we don't want the fan constantly running. And we're going to stir every 15 minutes. And at the last 20 minutes, we're going to start our Sparge water.
All right, so we're wrapping up our mash right now. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to set the temperature up to 170. And then let's get the power up to about 100%, get it there a little bit faster. So we're going to get this up to 170, let the grains sit for 10 minutes. That's going to loosen them up. So when we start the Sparge, so that we're able to extract as much of the sugar as we can. All right, so we got the unit up to 170. It did its rest for 10 minutes. So we're going to start off by just turning off our unit. As we're doing our Sparge, we're going to take our Sparge water, which is also at 170. And we're going to slowly pour this in. So you may have noticed that we already had our malt pipe up and resting on the unit itself. And we let that drain out before starting this process. So let's go ahead and start pouring this in slowly. And again, this is just trying to collect as much of the extra sugar that is left behind in our grains. So as you can see, this is going to be a slow pour. And we're going to try to distribute this as evenly as you can, which anvil makes this pretty easy with all the holes on this lid.
Okay, so we've reached a boil temperature of 212, and this next process will go for 1 hour. And we're going to put in our first set of hops. It's a total of 0.4 ounces of the Nugget hops. Put that in. At the last 15 minutes of the boil, we're going to put in 1 teaspoon of Irish moss. At the final 10 minutes of the boil, we're going to put in a half ounce of the Fuggle pellet hops. At the last 10 minutes of the boil, we're going to put 5 teaspoons of yeast nutrients. Finally, after the boil is completed, we're going to put in a half ounce of the East Kent Golding pellet hops. All right, so now we've reached the end of the boil, and the first thing we're going to do is turn off the unit. And from this point on, we want to make sure everything touching the wort is sanitized moving forward. We're going to cool down the wort between 60 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and the reason why is because we don't want to kill the yeast.
Alrighty, so now that we cooled our wort down to a nice 65 degrees Fahrenheit, we're going to go ahead and use the hydrometer and get a gravity reading. So our OG gravity looks to be 1.044. But since we have our refractometer that's brand new, we want to go ahead and test that so we could use it moving forward. And let's see if there's a difference. It's 1.045, so it's not that big of a difference. But at least in the end, look how much beer that we're saving. This whole tube versus one single drop. So I think we're going to go ahead and move forward with that. So let's open the valve and start pouring our wort into the fermenter. And then we're going to get ready to do our yeast. All right, now we transferred our wort into the fermenter. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to sanitize our yeast. And this yeast is the S33, which is a Belgian style yeast. So we're going to go ahead, sanitize that, and sanitize our scissors. So let's go ahead, we'll cut this open, and we're just going to pour it in. So next step is we're going to start adding oxygen to the wort, which is aeration. So let's go ahead and grab our lid, and we're also going to sanitize this. Just a reminder, anything when your wort's not at the boiling point anymore, you're going to want to make sure you're sanitizing. So we add this on. So first we added the jacket, which is essentially acting as a giant koozie to help keep the temperature. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to shake our wort for about a minute. So basically what this is doing is we're adding oxygen to the wort where the yeast is going to be able to grow and multiply. And from that point, they're going to eat up all the extra sugar, and that's going to create your alcohol. But be careful not to add too much oxygen because that's oxidation, which will give your beer some off flavors. And I think we're going to be good here because we already let gravity throw our wort into here. So the last few steps we're going to want to do for us personally, we're going to get our airlock, spray it off, spray this guy, throw this in. All right, so for us, fortunate that I bought the cooling kit from Anvil. So first thing, we get our ink bird, and it's going to take the temperature of this. And the main goal is to make sure that our wort is always at 65 degrees. So you have your thermal well here, and you could throw your probe in there. That's going to keep the temperature. And anytime, for at least the setting we have, that it goes up 2 degrees over, that it's going to kick on, and then this is going to get cold water flowing through this tube and then cold water coming out, and it's just going to circulate, making sure that we're staying at that 65 degrees consistent. So this is going to sit in a cool, dark place for 2 weeks, and then we're going to bring it upstairs, do a couple gravity readings. If there's no changes, we're going to go ahead and say it's done. We're going to bottle this guy up and then bottle condition it. And after that, 2 more weeks, it's ready to go. You can drink it. So we'll see you soon when we're actually going to give this guy a taste.
a spray batter. Spray batter. What am I talking?
Oh, that's a little too deep. Sorry, girl.